Today is the 19th of March, Saturday. Nick's forecast is Nick. How's it going? Hey, just going to talk about some different real stuff today, as always. In mortgage news, yeah, the Fed raised a quarter point. So what? Nobody cares. Didn't change the rates that much. It didn't do much of anything. So they raised another point and a half, 2 points, at least 2 points. Not much is going to happen. So they're just trying to make this big going on over in Eastern Europe. So, anyways, it's kind of a no-brainer until rate anything under 6% are low. So people are still working it. But you look at some of these headlines. We're going California home sales dip 8.2% in February. Yeah, I told you that was going to happen because the bubble's here soon. In the high end areas, eventually they're going to drop to U.S. mortgage rates level in 2019, but that's just everyone's trying to get in, cash out, or just trying to get a lower rate. U.S. builder confidence dips in March from diminished future sales expectation. Yeah, because they're not allowed to build in a lot of parts in the east and west coast, and even some parts of the southwest. If you go to Arizona or Nevada, you're going outside in Las Vegas or Phoenix, you're up against a mountain. You can only go so far out. So there's limits. You know what I'm saying? And Florida still kicking. Fort Lauderdale area breaks all-time lows for 2021. That's 45 minutes from Miami. Mortgage applications in mid-March. Yeah, that was expected. See, commercial real estate investments will increase 10% in 2022. Yeah, Grant Cardone's been saying that for. So, right, I'm just bringing that because you have all these different going on at once. Commercial, yeah, increasing, and the reason commercial is going to keep increasing is because investors know it's a safe place they can go. It's like crypto. Cochrane real estate company, and they're going to start doing more and more stuff in crypto, which is smart. And a lot of the other players off their rears and do it. I remember a couple years ago in Seattle, the real estate agents were kind of freaked to do, but they can go fight everything, and they got scored away. And the title company that had a company, essentially the escrow officer, had to do all the stuff because they go through and verify all the stuff, but then they bought cash. They didn't have a mortgage. So these are just kind of things that are going on. Now, I did read a story where someone pulled some crypto out, and they pulled out, for 10% down payment, and they had a mortgage company doing their thing. They had to do all the case and projects of the crypto. It all worked out. They closed the deal like 10 days later. They do on a 30-day close, but so what? They got to close. Just crypto is a different kind of game. Crypto down right now. If you got crypto stock, you're just going to hold on to it. It's going to go up. It's just the way it is. It's going to go up because more and more people are going to put money in there, and kind of how it goes. Corporations, super criminal organizations, just a common person going to keep putting more into there because war breaks out all over, and if it expands out into a potential world war or something like that, they got to go to safe places. So that's going to happen. More and more people are going to buy with crypto to hide your cash, but there's a file all the crypto stuff, and so you got the cash in there, and then you're good to go. So that's technology. That's just the way it is. And remember, real still an old school. It's still an old school deal, even though you can look up pictures and this and that, but you have a house, you have a building, you have a piece of land, you're building an apartment building. You still need to go out and take a look. Commercial building, you might be buying a one-story building, you might be buying a strip mall, you might be buying a 10-story building, you might be buying 5-unit apartment building, maybe you're buying a 700 unit, 1,000, maybe 2,000 apartment building units, whatever. And you might be buying a $50 million place, apartment building, $400 million. You might be only buying, like a unit that may cost you $1 million, $10 million 0.5 or whatever. I'm just giving examples. You still need to be able to look at the place and look at it, and you need to be able to, touch it, see it. It's still a down to earth business, real estate, and the way it is. So, an investor, you need to go out and take a look at your stuff. You might be buying in other states, you might buy one state, great. For a buyer, buying your first home, second or third home, whatever. You still need to look at it. You're a seller, you're buying your state. After you sell your house, your move, and your age, you still want to go and check some stuff out so you can see it. Even though it came out a few weeks ago, saying 498 cities that were average price over $1 million. That's only 498 in certain areas, mostly on the I'd say most of them were on the West Coast, and you had some on the East Coast. But so what? You still need to be able to look at the house and do it. Your investors are going to still go out and look. It's still, as a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, you still need to be more over the phone and this and that. I mean, even as a real estate agent, you can do that. You can send pictures and video and all that, but still, it's still a person business. You still need to look, just like the insurance agent can do on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people do that. You can call Select Quote and do it all the phone, but a lot of times, people want to go talk to the agent. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you are in the U.S. It's just a common thing. You in real estate, you still want to look at it. That's, Cardone, you're hearing him talk. He gets jet. He buys himself a $50 million, $40 million Malibu because he wants to spend half the year there. 5 months there, so he's gonna get hit for taxes because he's a Florida resident. But he goes there, his plane and flies. He goes, he checks out, likes the house, moon by, goes, checks out the apartment building. He checks out all his apartment buildings. He just goes there and flies. His time. So same thing applies when you're buying your house or in your investment property. Same thing. And if you're a seller, you're listing the property, you're going to buy another property, you're doing a 1031 exchange. When you're out to get a 1031 exchanges, I used to do those a lot commercial. Me and my cousin did for commercial people. But people aren't building, they're flipping them over, and you got about 120 days to reinvest the money back. So these are just things to think about. So hike has nothing to do with anything, and basically nothing. And still going back to, even if you're buying crypto or cash or whatever, you still real estate agent, you still talk to mortgage broker, you still need to know what the hell you're doing. And it's a people business. So, it's a person-to-person business, and ties together in its own weird kind of way when you're doing it, because you still need to go out and touch it. You need to experience it, and you need to look at it. So, I mean, you may buy a home, or, on the East Coast or the Southeast. You buy it in California, Oregon, Washington, or your commercial building, and they send you video, you get all your inspections and all that, but you still want to go out and check a look at it and see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're building an apartment building, say you're building 500 units, and you have 4 different buildings of 100 units each or whatever, I'm hypothesizing here, and you're going ahead and buy it, and you're building it out, the property, and you got all your permits, doing this, you're putting this, and basically you're gonna lease all the properties. Bedrooms are gonna lease for $1,700 a month. 3 bedrooms are gonna lease for $900, and all the numbers look good, blah 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 blah. But you still want to go out and take a look when it's being built by your by the builder who's doing your general contractor or GCs. So you still want to do it. It's on type of business and people business. I mean, there's real estate companies in Seattle where they were listing the properties, and they were putting iPads out. I don't know how many iPads this company bought, but they're putting them out so you can look at it, but they're offering a crappy commission. As a real estate agent, I don't want to show your property because you have a crappy commission for the buyer's agent. I wouldn't. I blank that. I've talked to some agents I know up there in Seattle, and they're like me. They still won't show the property. They just won't do it. So basically, if you're a buyer's agent or more, at least 2.5 minimum, 3% or higher, I'm not going to show your property. Good luck. The other agent wants to show it, fine. I mean, unless your property is like a $5-10 million property, sometimes they only do 2%. And and they do that sometimes. And generally, what it is, the listing agents will charge 4 or 5, get 2% the other side, and that stuff happens. But that money is a lot more. So these are just, what I was saying before is that real estate business, and you're still a hands-on business because you still need to look at the properties. And with all this craziness going, still a business where, as an investor, you got to have your paperwork right. If you're a buyer buying your first home, you got your paperwork right. This is kind of, I keep more and more stories about it. And I used to like sending complete files when I did my stuff. And rate hikes, why I can kind of bring is because the rates will are up and down every day. And so if you're a mortgage broker, if there's an eighth of a point change, I'm letting you regular people out there, there's an eighth point in doing a consumer property, so you got to notify right away. And so you have to send out a new good faith estimate, stuff. So and things can change, the rate up and down. It's just how it goes. Notice. And that's in the paper of the mortgage brokers. That's, for residential. Commercial's a little bit different on that one. Disclose, but it's a different kind of disclosures. And commercial, a lot of times they're subject to this, but the volatility is usually not as bad as it in the residential. And they're going to have to, an article today in Drudge, they're going to have to send a half point. There's too much cheap money out there right now because of all the stuff that went on with the COVID thing and the crisis, when they had to cash out and they had to put it out there to keep the economy rolling. The problem is, they still have all this cash sitting in the government bank accounts and some money in there, and they haven't used any of it. So that adds to even more problems because it's just sitting there. Because he's going to have to go out some unless they're going to keep it. I don't know why. Passing some of the stuff for fixing roads and bridges, a lot of that money hasn't even been out bogus, because there's a lot of places that fix, like West Seattle in Seattle, Washington. There's the West Seattle Bridge. There, that was there before Durham was a complete failure, and the bridge up and running the way it should have been. I mean, they should have got it fixed years ago. It's been sitting there. There's a net underneath that you couldn't even use. And if you live in West Seattle, you had to go 4 or 5 miles around to go to this other bridge, not allocating. They have this new guy, Harold, who I've met before in the past, and hopefully he's been asking more to try to get something done. But the problem is that the last mayor administration sat in their rears, and the city of Seattle didn't do anything either. So all these people got Seattle, and there's one part of Seattle is one part of Seattle where they're always getting screwed. It's kind of like East Portland. Some parts of San Francisco are really getting screwed. It's like downtown, up in the Mission District. I mean, there's certain areas. LA is the same way. There's certain areas that get hosed. It's just in San Diego. Everybody's like this. And Seattle, West Seattle, like the stepchild, which shouldn't be, because the best beachfront, some of the best beachfront on the West Coast is 7 miles long. 6 miles, about 6. But it's some of the best beachfront in Pacific Northwest for sure, but also to West Coast. And it's expensive. They've got one that used to have all houses. They only have a few houses left. It's all high-end condo. And, people pay to live down there. But the thing is, just to going over the bridge or going over the lower bridge has been kind of the city of Seattle didn't get off the rear. The reason I'm going on a tangent on this in the real estate tangent is because it's happening in other cities, and they have all this in the federal government that they didn't release the bill, and it's affecting everywhere and every part of the country. I don't care if you're in Alaska, the West Coast, Southwest, Midwest, Southeast, East Coast, Northeast, wherever. There's all these places that are getting screwed over. Like you go to New Jersey and in New York, there's all these roads that are these giant potholes and all this stuff, and the governments haven't replaced them. And I don't care about Republican, independent, whatever. It's just the governments aren't doing their jobs, and they're not getting the money out where it needs to go. So the people can get scored away, because it's a political thing. They're holding up the cash, but that's shouldn't be screwing all the common person over, or the people that have to lose millions of dollars because the roads are all screwed up. You know what I'm saying? Or a company like Boeing, where you have to make night runs because you got to move parts at night, but if the roads are, you're kind of screwed over. Or General Dynamics, or CE England company, CR England company that moves a lot of stuff. Hunt Brothers, moving stuff, but if the roads are bad, that makes it complicated to move. Amazon, they got to move a lot of product all over the place, or UPS, and some of the roads they have to take these other roads because they can't go on them. This is a problem in the Northeast, and there's all kinds of stories coming out about it. But also, it gets back, this affects real estate, because when they start fixing up, that means that if you live off the highway a few miles and you're close to the city area, it makes you valuable because they're fixing infrastructure. So tie into, if you're an investor and you're buying apartment buildings, or if you're buying a house in a certain area, these are things you have to look at overall. I mean, I'm just bringing this out to you. Now, it's different when you live inside the city area. It's different. If you live out in the countryside, that can be beneficial to you. It's like the town I'm in is kind of going through a regrowth right now. One guy that owns a ton of buildings in this town, and they've sold all these buildings that didn't used to be there. They're all coming back, and this happens everywhere all the time. It always recycles. They rebirth. Things got run down and they come back. So it's like you're back for certain parts of Queens, New York. And I've never been to New York City, but you read all these stories about it. And I've been through some parts of the Northeast, but I haven't been in there. But you just read stories about it. It's kind of cool to read. Regrowth and rebirths, kind of like Koreatown in LA, same thing. So real estate is always affected by it. Guys go out and buy. If you're an investor, you're buying apartment buildings or a building. If you're buying a house, you need to look at that stuff. How far is it going to get to this? That's why a lot of times the reading about real estate, there's 498 cities that Zillow put out $1 million plus a year to buy a house with average, because those are in high-end demand areas, and everybody in the ground wants a house there because the schools are choice, and you have the high-end shopping centers, grocery stores, all the other cool stuff that you want to be. And so that's kind of one of those things. So, and that goes back to the issue. And like about this apartment building he bought, I think it was a Fort Lauderdale area, and he was at it 275, maybe 300 million. He bought recently or whatever. I think it was there. No, it was Boca Raton. Anyways, whatever. It was a high-end, cool. It was a cool building, but it was all high-end to max. The thing was, was gilded the whole bit, but it's going to keep, because the apartment building, the high-end area, keep raising the rents. That's kind of the way it is, because it's in a high-demand area. Certain areas like that are just going to stay that way. It's like Beverly Hills, certain areas in West LA, the city of LA, West LA, it's just going to stay up. Even going the backside through into Studio City back there into the valley, San Fernando Valley, prices there too. It's a lot less to buy there in Studio City or some of these other areas outside, but properties are going to keep going up because it's in high demand. So everybody wants to live there because it's a nice area. Blah 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 blah. So it's still location of stuff, and so you have to look at that stuff as they go through. If they ever get them redoing the roads and stuff like that, in bridges and other areas that need to get vacation intensive. So the stuff for you to look at. Yeah, rates are going to go up. They're not high enough. They haven't raised them up. It's been too artificially low for too long. Like I said, anything under 6% rate. I mean, when I started in real estate in '95, and it was a pretty good clip. You're talking in 0.75%, 8%, 7.5%. So way it was 4.5% is now, and that was on a conventional loan. So get your money out when you can, juice it out. Keep your rate low, whether you go on an ARM or 15 or 30 or fixed right now, because of the rates ARM, it'll be dangerous, because once that thing clicks over, you have to refinance unless you're going to sell it. You're going to get it kind of hosed. So that's my suggestion. If you haven't, talk to your tax accountant or your mortgage broker or real estate agent, or you're a real estate attorney or whatever. Real estate attorneys don't do much in that because they have nothing to do with that. But That's more of an accounting issue. But anyway, just suggest you get a 15 or 30 year. Get that. Anyways, and that's just like I said, just suggestive advice instead of an arm. Anyway, got any questions? Got any questions? Go ahead, forecast.com, email me, or go to Facebook at Nick's Forecast. Sorry, I went a little diatribe, this stuff. Anyways, guys, have a good day. Ciao.